welcome. The goal of this podcast is to get listeners connected with others in the sports industry because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know us. All right, hello and welcome everybody to the Constant Sports Podcast. Today we're joined by good friend, family friend here, Griffin Limongelli. How's it going, Griffin?
What's going on, Connor? Appreciate you having me.
Yep. Griffin here, friend of the podcast. Went to grad school with him there at ASU. So we're going to be able to touch base on some things in the sports industry, all things ASU, Master Sports Line of Business, and much more. So we're excited to kind of kick this off and get it going.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's dive into it.
Perfect. So just for the listeners and viewers that don't know Griffin, he was at the University of South Carolina. He was in the retail management program with a minor in sports and entertainment management. So I guess just kind of start off, Griff, how'd you kind of get into the sport, and entertainment management kind of minor? Was there something that caught your eye, or, how'd you kind of get down that path?
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I mean, I knew kind of early on in life that I definitely wanted to stay working in the sports industry. I played baseball my whole life, up until I decided to go off to school and kind of pursue a career in the business industry of sports. So I always knew that was something I wanted to do. And, at that point on, I was just kind of figuring out, what's my next step? What do I have to do to kind of get to where I want to be? I knew this industry was going to take a lot of, prerequisites before kind of finding the role I really wanted. And as you know that too, it's a lot of grinding and, working your way up from the bottom for sure. So kind of just finding out which programs offered the best opportunities. They had a great program down there. They still do have a really great program down there, all encompassing sports, but they do hospitality, retail management, sports management, entertainment, and things like that. So they have a whole college dedicated to just that kind of field, which is pretty cool. So found the program, knew some people from my area back home in Virginia that went down to USC. It's kind of like a pool school almost. They get a lot of people from up north going down there. I guess it's the weather or something like that. And they just had the best program that I thought. I felt like I was home when I was down there. They kind of have something similar to ASU where, they have a lot of sports associated with their programs. They have, people doing stuff for the athletic department. There's a lot of golf down there, kind of like out here in AZ. People working in football and baseball. Baseball is pretty big down there too. So I just saw that there was a great opportunity there. Fell in love with the school as well. Can't really complain about being down south, close to Charleston, close to the coast and stuff like that. But, kind of found my major pretty uniquely. If you're not familiar with it, if anyone's not familiar with it, it's called the Academic Common Market, which is where you can get in-state tuition at an out-of-state school if a school in your home state doesn't have the major that you want to study. So for me, I always knew, like I said, I wanted to work in sports, but kind of figuring out what I wanted to do in-state, there wasn't too many options, unfortunately. A lot of Virginia schools are a little bit more business focused, a little bit more tech focused and finance focused, where there isn't really a whole lot of business and sports, kind of centered around a lot of those programs. So, I knew I needed to, maybe take a little move out of Virginia and kind of find a different avenue somewhere else. And, that's where I found USC in that program. And I was fortunate enough to be able to study, out of state and getting in-state tuition. So that was a big bonus for, definitely being able to go down there. But, being in retail management is kind of just like really learning business, learning marketing, learning sales, management, and things like that. So all things that are really applicable and transferable to sports in general. So really found a good passion there, found a way to blend all that into sports, had a sports management minor as well. So really just kind of took all that time to focus more so on how I can apply that to the industry of sports, and, got a bunch of different opportunities down there working and interning for different places, and ultimately led me to here to ASU.
Yep. Love it. And we'll touch base on a little bit of your past, work experience there. But as you kind of grew up in the Virginia area, then you spread your wings down south, ended up in South Carolina, and then you just said, I'm going across the country down to ASU. Obviously, for the viewers who are listening, that's where Griffin and I and some other classmates met at the Arizona State Sports Line Business program. Fantastic program. And now you're kind of the top dog over there. So can you kind of tell the viewers what your role there is as I guess you're graduating here in the next few months now. So kind of what's your role now, and then what you're looking forward to after graduation, and kind of how your time there went.
Yeah, man, it's been one hell of a journey for sure. And I know you the same way. You had the whole year with me as well. Last year, Bro-Ro, I don't know if you've introduced that phrase on this podcast yet.
It is now.
It was a great time. It was awesome. It flew by for sure. I can't believe I'm 2 years in and, getting ready to graduate here in May. So it's been an awesome journey and definitely seen a lot of growth just from being out here. I mean, this place is really elevated, I'm sure you as well. And, all of our friends just elevates us so much. So yeah, I'm currently a graduate assistant for the program. We have a couple different grad assistants that actually work for the program specifically. It's kind of like running your own business a little bit. We kind of do everything in-house, from admissions to social media to events, marketing, outreach, recruiting. All kind of that stuff is all from the standpoint of just the program, which is pretty cool, kind of having that whole in-house operation. It's not really just, general law and stuff like that. So we really kind of do our own operation there. So I am a graduate assistant for the program this year. I took a little bit more of a leadership role. I was lifted into the lead graduate assistant position, where I'm essentially just running point on all of our projects that we do throughout the year, getting the team organized. Every week we meet weekly as a team to kind of just get updated on everything, go through all our different projects. Everybody has their own roles and own tasks that they do, that they have stuff going on every week. So just kind of running point on that. I work hand in hand with our director, Aaron Hernandez, and our program coordinator, Evan Singletary. Just getting through the year. A lot of our year goes by really quick, as you know.
Yeah.
We do social events, we do networking events, we do marquee speaker series is our big event that we do both spring and fall semesters. That's coming up here in April, so I'll do a little plug for that. We got our spring speaker series coming up, so it'll be pretty cool there. We do lab events, just tons of stuff throughout the year that goes on. And also too, we do all of our own recruiting, all of our own engagement with our students, all of our own admissions and stuff like that. So really throughout the year, we're jam-packed with kind of just making sure that the year flows, nicely, and we're always putting together the right cohort for the next following year too. So when I started the program back last year, or 2 years ago now, 2021, I applied for the position, once I found out I was coming into the program. So I was super excited that it was something that was offered. And definitely something that I wanted to just, impact the program as much as I could, get as involved as much as I could, really utilizing the time that I had out here. So from that point on, I became the marketing and outreach graduate assistant. So a lot of my role was marketing the events that we did, really marketing the program, doing a lot of outreach to different, organizations within sports, all over the world, all over the country, getting in touch with whoever I could, putting on a lot of events, and, kind of the recruiting aspect of it too was a lot of one-on-one calls and stuff like that. So it was really cool kind of getting to know a lot of the people that I eventually went to school with this year. We're now doing the same thing for this next coming fall as well.
Right.
So, after taking that year, kind of learn the entire operation of what FSLB is all about from a business perspective, and, kind of what they do as a academic program, and kind of moved into that more leadership style role this year.
Yeah, no, and we've seen you kind of take that on. It's been awesome to watch. But as the listeners and viewers, we have some people that are kind of in the undergraduate to graduate phase in there.
Mm-hmm.
And ASU's kind of, you guys have been releasing, people that have been accepted. So it's a rolling admissions, I believe still. Hopefully that's not false.
Yeah. We're still doing rolling admissions. So there's no deadlines or anything like that. We keep it open from like October to June. So you got plenty of time. Right now we're in the thick of it. So we're about halfway full right now.
That's kind of what I was curious as, for the listeners and viewers that are getting ready, getting their applications ready. What are some things that you and the different, staff and, leaders kind of look at as a, to have them accepted and kind of all that?
Yeah, we definitely, the number one thing is definitely obviously working in sports. What's kind of your background in the space before coming into the program? A really cool metric that we keep track of, that we keep constant throughout the entire cohort that we put together, is every single person that we admit has prior sports experience, whether they've, been an intern, they worked full time, volunteered, anything really that's kind of transferable to that counts as their experience. And they know what it's like to work in the industry. They're committed to working in the industry and, really understand what it takes. This is a very grueling, time consuming industry. It's a lot of fun for sure. You really get to go through some cool experiences, but, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of hard work to, really see some success. So, that's the number one thing that we look for, is just kind of what you've been able to do before coming in. We really don't have like a model applicant, I'd say, where it's like, you got to look like this. Your GPA has got to be this, really kind of putting together a spectacle of a applicant. But, we have people that range, all sorts of different GPAs, people that have so many different backgrounds and different academic backgrounds too. We have people that don't just study, sports or law or business. I mean, they've come from, maybe it's like neuroscience or psychology or, really anything that's kind of different from that landscape. They've come in and, been able to establish themselves. So that's another thing we look for too, is just kind of, what your academic background's been like before coming through here. The next thing too is we have you submit a personal statement and an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So really try to get as personal as we can through the application because we don't have any sort of entrance exam for our program. So for us, you don't have to do an entrance exam with the LSAT, the GRE, the GMAT, or anything like that, which is kind of the nice part about it. I definitely think that's a big pull for a lot of people with our program, why they choose to come here. Not that you're getting any less of an education, but you're just able to kind of get, two different things at once, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, kind of once they submit that, we just get to know all about them. That's the biggest thing is just kind of seeing, who they are, what their story is, why they want to be in this industry and what is it they want to do and how they think that they can get there with us. And then we also do that same sort of standpoint with the elevator pitch too. For any of you guys that are familiar with that, just kind of like your own personal sales pitch video, why you want to be in the program, just tell us about you. We want to see your full, authentic and original self in these videos and your creativity. And just kind of, see what kind of cultural fit you'll be outside of, just how you'll be coming in and what you can bring to the table too. So just kind of a little breakdown of what we look for and, kind of the 5 stars that we admit into the program.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And as I was thinking back when I was, applying to different schools and whatnot, the elevator pitch that we made, I actually kind of liked that because it was something that you could put out there that wasn't like on a piece of paper. It's like, oh, here's my resume, here's like my GPA. Exactly. But like the elevator pitch was like, oh, it's a video of me and I'm putting in, graphics or people probably do all sorts of stuff. But it was something that was like, all right, they can see like who I am. They can hear me talk, kind of see me. So I think that's super cool, that the program does that.
Yeah. And there's only so far you can get by getting, 100, 200 applications and they all,
right.
Look relatively similar. It's like, okay, well, they all look kind of similar on paper. Now we want to dive a little deeper. And that's kind of what makes us so unique is that we really take the time to cultivate through and, really try to find the best people out of our pools and really put the best classes together possible. So I think having that is a great idea. I don't think it was actually implemented too far after we were admitted to the program too. So I don't think it's something they had to do before that.
Right.
Definitely adding that in definitely puts a lot of creativity into it and really makes it a unique part of the application. I don't think many other programs actually require that. So
yeah, no, yeah, and just speaking on the uniqueness, I was thinking about the different classes and whatnot I took and how it's kind of in the law school. So we're doing, you're taking sports law classes, you're taking amateur law. Kind of what are some of your favorite classes as you were in the program, and then I'll try to think of some of mine.
Yeah, I think the number one that stands out to me is probably our Law of Sports Branding course. It's taught by Professor Gibson, who has a really great background in that branding space, worked for the MLB in the property space, was an agent too, has his own consulting firm right now. So really, really cool guy. Definitely knows his stuff and taught us a lot. You were actually in that class as well.
Yep.
But I could rave about that class all day. It definitely helped me kind of in the agency realm that I'm in right now with just kind of, the partnership space and, putting together decks and, what kind of goes through a lot of these proposals and deals that you offer to different people. So, kind of breaking that down was really cool. We had 3 or 4 projects that we did throughout the year that we were graded on rather than doing tests and stuff. So really hands-on work. I think the first one we did was like a mock franchise move to a different city. So which is really cool. That's a really cool project that I thought he was able to implement. And then we did mock partnerships with brands and athletes, which is really cool. Naming rights, mock deals with stadiums and stuff like that. So really just hands-on stuff that, are really applicable to the real world and things that we're going to hopefully be doing someday. And just sharpened up our skills and really just got us into that, different mode, getting uncomfortable because it's definitely things that we've never done before.
Right.
It required a lot of us. As you know, we got grilled in those presentations, but it was all for the benefit of knowing how those situations go so that we're so prepared when we go into it in the real world. So that was a great class. This year, we're actually taking a brand new class that's offered called applied marketing or like applied sports marketing, where we have 2 SLB alumni actually teaching the course, who are teaching us a lot about what they do in the agency space with brands. So they both work for pretty cool advertising agencies throughout the Valley, doing a bunch of different stuff. And they've been in this space for a little bit. So they really take a lot of what they're learning now and bring it into the classroom, which is another hands-on marketing course, which I just love marketing. So I could talk about all that all day, but being able to kind of get that hands-on work is just the best part of the classes and why some of them stand out, over the rest. Just kind of the cool stuff you can do.
Yeah, no, I agree there. And I was stole my thunder there. You read my sheet, but I would say that the sports law and branding class was sweet. And, Professor Gibson was, he would be like the professor in the normal days, but then when you would present, he like would turn a switch, and he was like
Yeah.
actually the CEO of the San Diego Padres,
It's
and
a
like
different mode.
yeah, it was like you couldn't say like, "Hey, professor, like this is what we're pitching." It was like, "Hey, Don, like this is what we're like."
Right. My
You could
name
not,
is
yeah,
athlete.
yeah, you could not miss. Like that guy. So that was really cool, and like you had to come prepared, and I guess that just ties into the rest of kind of grad school is like it's all like the applied stuff. It's like doing
Yeah.
the mock negotiations and negotiations and what is that ADR and presenting like, okay, that's your
Yeah.
athlete. You gotta, this is the team, that's the GM, like he wants this, the team can
Right.
only pay that, like doing that whole thing, and kind of peels back, a little bit of the onion there. And when you see it on TV and it's like, Jalen Ramsey signed with the Dolphins, it's like there was so much negotiations and so many
I
things
know.
that went
All
into that
behind the
before
scenes.
that. Yeah. So that's kind of the coolest part of grad school. And that's kind of why I think grad school is cool. Is it's not like undergrad. It's like, oh, you got to take biology and freaking
Right.
business
All the stuff you
101.
don't care about.
Yeah, it's like you're in a
Yeah.
class with 850 people, and then grad school, it's like, all right, there's
I don't think I've
30
touched
of us.
what did I take? Like calculus or something like that in
Yeah, yeah,
college. I
yeah,
don't think I've touched any of that since
yeah.
coming to this program. So
Right.
shout
And
out to
then yeah, shout out to the undergraduate at South Carolina.
that.
So I like that. And then all the books, it's like I still have a few of them, like sports marketing, branding and law. Like,
Yeah, of
eventually I'll probably, break those bad boys open and give them a read. So that's
course.
yeah, that's kind of the biggest takeaways and the cool part about that program there. And as you just said. So I guess as you've been working in a program, you've had some positions in the sports industry with Divine and now you're with Vanguard. So tell the listeners and viewers kind of how that process went, kind of what they can expect when they're going into an interview, kind of at that intersection we're at in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely first and foremost, it's definitely shout out to SLB for kind of preparing me to get into those roles. Really just kind of polishing myself up as an applicant and just being as prepared as possible. We just talked about the classes that kind of helped us to get to where we are. They really did help us and, really, elevated us as applicants to make us stand out. So yeah, I mean, I always knew I wanted to get into the agency space for a very long time. Just kind of really tailored my journey to figuring out how to get there, and just being well-rounded, doing different internships in different, capacities and different sports and stuff like that. And just reaching out to different people too, and just kind of getting to connect with different people. So I always knew I wanted to get into that. And that's kind of the biggest reason why I chose grad school, because I knew that I needed that extra academic boost to get into that point, because it's such a competitive space. And so many people have that same background too of, graduate degree or law school or, this and that. So really just kind of figuring that path out and where I needed to get in order to get to that agency space, which the first job, unfortunately is definitely always the hardest, as in sports. Agency is definitely probably a step up above that because, it's very coveted positions. Everybody wants to get into that space. Everyone wants to work with the athletes and be with the biggest agency. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, who's willing to put in the work. It's a grind for sure.
Yep.
But it's a lot of fun. I mean, if you really do enjoy it, you'll have a great time and you'll never work a day in your life, as they say. So last year was fortunate enough to do my first ever internship in the space with Divine Sports and Entertainment. They were a relatively new at the time agency who's taking off right now, by the way, in the NIL space, mostly within NFL or within college players and football. Had a little bit of NFL clients as well. Now they represent some high school basketball clients as well, doing some really cool deals there. They just announced a deal with the Jordan brand, which is pretty cool. It was actually a project that was introduced when I first came on last year. So to kind of see that all full circle.
There we go.
Just through there, I did a marketing and branding internship with them. So really just kind of helping them market a lot of their players at the time. Obviously, NIL was so new. So you're reaching out to companies and different brands looking to do some deals and social media activations and stuff like that, helping guys build their own brand as well, and girls, from the ground up, really, within all different sports, putting together clothing lines and helping them establish social medias and doing events and stuff like that. I mean, how it goes in the space. It's a grind for sure, but it's a lot of fun, kind of getting to work with them and really just be creative and innovative. It really just takes your creativity and whatever direction you want to take it in is, you have full reign to do so, which is why, I definitely chose the space too. You could just kind of take whatever you want to implement and kind of implement it. But, did that for about 7 or 8 months or so. So pretty much throughout my fall semester last year, just getting experience, as much as I could. And then was really fortunate enough to be able to land another internship for the spring with the Vanguard Sports Group, doing the same thing, marketing and branding. So kind of stepping up a little bit now to more the professional clientele,
Yeah.
So I've been doing some stuff with CFL guys, NFL. They have some NBA and MLB clients as well. NIL as well within collegiate athletics, but mostly within the NBA, NFL, and MLB are the top sports that they dive into, and they have some really cool clients too. So really invaluable experience so far. I've been getting to meet a lot of really cool people and get a lot of really cool experiences too.
Definitely.
Just meeting with the different athletes in them. So definitely been a great experience. I started back in January and just kind of been pulling through ever since. Got through the Super Bowl, which was really cool. So they had a bunch of people out here doing that, which was awesome to go meet, some of them who were in the area. It's just been a lot of fun. I'll be looking for something to do full time in summer. So once I kind of graduate here, so I think that's definitely kind of the route I'd like to take, staying in the marketing space. And these two positions have just been so great in terms of the experience.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of all anyone can ask for, right? Is when you're kind of in that undergraduate, graduate, that intersection there is the experience, learning how to do things and kind of putting yourself in those situations like, okay, this is how this gets done, so that you can just catapult it into the next job or the next, career path. And you know how that goes. So it's as you kind of prepared for those interviews going forward. So like, when in grad school, they're always like, prepare. And then I was like, yeah, I think I got it figured out. I'll give them a LinkedIn, we'll do it a once over. But then as, like I graduated, you kind of, starts getting serious. It's like the more, information you have that you can pull from, like, okay, they have, Mike White from the Jets is like one of the clients, whatever it is.
Right.
Like some deals he's done. They have a guy for the Cardinals. He'll deals done. They got a guy, here they got a player on the Las Vegas Aces. Like knowing all that information and the different deals they've done, especially if like you're going into a marketing role, it's like, right. And you kind of have that baseline. So I'm assuming you kind of did those types of things as you went into your interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. Prepare. You can never be too prepared for these interviews. You can never know too much information. I mean, the more the better, because it shows that you actually care and that you actually want to, really be there. And you took the time to, kind of get into that mode with them already. So for these sort of interviews, I mean, obviously they're internship level, so they're probably a little bit different than I'm sure a lot of the entry level jobs interview probably are. But with a lot of them, prepare a little bit, know the agency really well. I think nowadays you're starting to see a lot of agencies that have, a vision statement, a mission statement, different goals, and really just kind of the pillars that they want to found the agency on. And I think that's kind of the best place to start, is kind of look for the agency that really resonates with you. Maybe shares the same values and same vision and goals that you have as well. Because there's so many agencies out there. I mean, even nowadays, so many different NIL agencies are becoming a big thing now. There's tons and tons of sports agencies across all the different sports. So, really just kind of finding the ones that really resonate with you and, really aren't too surface level in terms of, getting experience. You really want to be able to dive in and, kind of make an impact and learn all the different things that you're going to be doing within the role. So really understanding, what they're all about, what they really do, and just kind of honing in on what it is that you want to do for them and with them, and kind of what you can gain from the experience. Also too, is just kind of put it, your full effort into it. I know for these past two jobs that I've had, they really wanted to know about me and just kind of, where I wanted to take my job, what I wanted to kind of be a part of, how I wanted to impact them, why I wanted them specifically to work with, which is huge. And I definitely agree with, why they would ask those things, because I think it's important to kind of have that mesh, because then it'll be a great environment for you to work in. So that's what I did for those. I mean, definitely just kind of really sat down with myself and thought, okay, what is it that I want to do? How are they going to help me get there? And then what can I bring to the table? They're always looking for things in terms of creativity and innovation, and what are some things you can help us do to really elevate us? So that when they're looking for those things, you got to be able to, make those answers and, give them that information so that you can, help them in any way. So definitely prepare. That's the number one thing, is just really know who you're interviewing with, and, my biggest thing is I try to find the uncommon things that, you might not know about. If it's maybe a project that they worked on that you just happen to stumble on LinkedIn, or, maybe they know somebody that you also know too. There's tons of different things that finding a connection with that person that you're interviewing with is huge. If there's common ground and, icebreakers that you can kind of bring into the interview, that, helps you off the bat, becoming more knowable and, keeping that face, recognizable when you're with them and talking with them. So just kind of finding that common ground is a huge way to do that as well.
Yep, I'm with you there. And we've talked to different, people along this interview series and whatnot, and a lot of them have said, like, that's one of the most important things to do, is just get information, kind of have it, it could be portrayed a little bit as a stalker or whatnot, but you just need it. I mean, there's a line, I'm sure you guys can all figure out what the line is, but you need the information. You need to be able to, talk about it and be, like, okay, this is how it works. This is ABC, yada, yada, yada. So that's huge. And then I guess as you got in your career, I feel like experience is always one of the most important things. And
Yeah.
we kind of started out in similar paths. I worked for a rookie baseball team for the Los Angeles Angels organization. I know you were down there with the Lexington Blowfish or the Lexington.
Yes, I was. Yep.
Oh,
Down
it
the
was?
Coastal Plain League. Yeah.
Okay, there it
It was
is.
fun.
Okay, so just for the viewers out there, kind of maybe their first job. I know that was kind of my first, break into industry was rookie, minor league baseball. So I don't know what league the Coastal Plains in, but I'm assuming it's some sort of minor league. So kind of what's that like, and what can someone expect for their first job, maybe in sports?
Yeah. For me, my very first job ever was actually in sports. And then from there, I never really kind of left the industry. I worked kind of like the usual, high school teenager kind of job, which was working at golf courses. So I worked at a few country clubs back where I'm from in Virginia, from like I want to say like sophomore year of high school all the way until I actually graduated from college. So, through the summers, just needed a job to kind of build some money for the beer money for college, as you know. Just kind of find things to do and just kind of keep up on the industry. I love golf. It's been part of my family and part of me for so long outside of baseball. So just kind of finding a new avenue to go down, once baseball was over, just trying to figure out, what's another sport I can get into that wasn't football. Obviously everyone kind of loves football and watches it. Just finding that new sport that really, kind of was, close to me and something that I enjoyed. So that's where I kind of started was, working in the golf industry. Kind of took that into undergrad a little bit. I worked at the Masters for 2 years. So those kind of positions definitely helped me kind of get into that role. The Lexington County Blowfish role was actually an internship that I did in the Coastal Plain League. So if anyone's familiar with a lot of the collegiate summer league teams, you'll have like the Cape Cod League, you'll have the Coastal Plain League, all those teams like that are collegiate players playing in the summer. That's what I did for an internship down in South Carolina back when I was, I think, a sophomore. Just getting experience working for a baseball team. It was obviously a smaller, more community style team. So you got a lot of really good hands-on work. It was I think like a 40-person intern team that we all stayed there over the summer and worked every single home game, which was definitely a grind for sure, but taught us a lot. It teaches you that work ethic that, it's hard to teach and hard to find in a lot of people. Learned all the different facets and operations of running a baseball team, from what the GM does to ticket sales to field operations to, souvenirs and retail shops and stuff like that, food and bev, like literally every single aspect that you can think of. And that's really how a lot of the first jobs are in the industry. I mean, if you're not working in golf where you're doing like golf ops or working in the pro shop or anything like that, you're doing internships with teams, whether it's in like the marketing department, the operations department, ticketing and sales. Even the video department's really big now too in a lot of different sports. So you're just kind of finding that first level job. It's usually not going to have a whole lot of roles with it, but you're learning something specific that you might not have known before, and just kind of taking it and then getting to cycle through a lot of the other different positions too. So that's how a lot of my first internships were. Just kind of gaining experience, understanding the operation and my role within that space. After that point, I think I went on to do an internship with at the time, Washington Redskins, who are now the Commanders. And that was just an internship level role as well, in the marketing department. You're kind of doing some of like the grunt work almost a little bit. You're putting together care packages and proposals and presentations and things like that. So some of the smaller level work, but at the same time, you're learning the foundation for what the bigger level jobs really are all about. So really just kind of understanding the foundation and the full scope of things is really how those first roles go. And finding those things too can definitely be tough, especially if you're just getting into college, or you're just coming out of college, or maybe you're even in college too, and you're really trying to find that first role. Just be persistent, find literally anything. It doesn't have to be your dream role right away. It might be something completely different than what you want to do, but maybe it's adjacent to what you want to do. Be flexible, be open to literally anything, because once you get that's going to be able to elevate you to what you want to do, later on. That's kind of how it works. That first role is never really something you probably want to do, or something that you do long term, but something that you're definitely going to learn a lot from, and be able to pivot from there. Okay, this is what I know I like, and this is what I know I don't like, and that's really how you're going to navigate to where you want to be.
Right. Well, and sometimes I hear like, how do you break in? I often ask like, how'd you break into this sports industry? How do you get into the sports industry? And it's really just like whatever first job or whatever first.
It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah, whatever you can get into, just get into it. Like you worked for those things. I worked for a rookie minor league baseball team, like 80 home, or it was like 68 home games in like 3 months. So it was like every day for 5 days, and it was like 2 days off. And it's like, did I want to be, being the grounds crew? Like I knew nothing about sprinklers, and sprinklers were going off. It's like, all right, you just figure it out, you learn. And there's so many like marketing things that we did that were cool. Different. We did like a parade campaign that was cool. And there's all these things where you can just parlay that into your next job or like grad school. Like, oh, hey, I did this last year. I did this, when I was here. So that's kind of, I would say, how you get into the industry. You just go find a job in the industry.
Yeah.
It's not
it always takes you full circle.
Level. Right.
The things that you do, you might not ever think you're ever going to use again, or you might not even like, but at the same time, there's things that I've learned and done way long ago. I've been doing this probably about 6 or 7 years now in terms of like internships and kind of working in this industry, where there's things that I use to this day that I learned from the start. Right. And you never really know that you're going to do that until you're actually doing them, which is kind of the funny part about it. You never know. And even the people you meet too is another part of it in the industry where, you might meet someone, in your first role. Maybe you don't talk with them for a little while, but, somewhere down the line, you guys, kind of meet back up again some way. Yep. That's just how it works. That's kind of the beauty of the industry, staying connected, learning everything you possibly can, and being well-rounded, makes you a Swiss Army knife and makes you a really competitive person in the space.
No, for sure. Then it's also just kind of building those relationships. And the GM of the rookie team that I worked with, like I used him for my application to get into ASU. Yeah. So it's like you kind of just, feed those relationships and have build those. And, obviously I was never trying to work in rookie ball for the rest of my life, but I met the GM and he knew me. We kind of went back and forth, and then we had that relationship that when I needed whatever it is, 3 or 4 referrals for grad school, for jobs, it's like, all right, I can text Rick and he's got me, lined up. So I think that's one of the more important things, along with the experiences, the relationships, the people you meet. And that kind of goes with everything in life. With grad school, it's like the people you meet, your classmates, that's where it starts. Those are usually who you're going to get your jobs with, who are going to get you connected.
Absolutely. It's actually funny. I actually used the GM of that the summer league team to get into grad school as well. So
there it is.
So yeah, you just got to put in the work. You just got to show them what you want to do and what you're about, and I'll work out in the end. That was probably 2 years before I even applied to the program, and I was still able to keep in touch with the guy who wasn't even in the same role at the time either. He actually left like right after I was done with the internship. So, to have that same relationship and be able to say like, hey, like I'm applying for this next position, this next thing I want to do in life. Is there any way that you can help me based on what I already showed you? And, it did work out. So which is, great and valuable.
Right. So you heard it here first. If you want to get into ASU's program, you go work for a baseball team.
That's how you
connected with one of their top dudes, and they're going to give you a referral, and you're just going to be able to walk right in. Heard it here first. So take that.
Cut the line, cut the red tape. You'll be good. Come to the front of the line.
There it is. Perfect. And kind of just talking about the industry in whole, and as I'm kind of in the marketing space as well. And then you've obviously these past 2 jobs and previous work, but I'm interested to kind of hear your thoughts on NIL and where you think it's going. I know we've kind of been on some of the same Zoom calls with that Midwinter. There's that Peter Schoenthal guy. Just a few other Zoom calls out there with, NIL legal experts and what have you. I just kind of be curious on your thoughts, kind of going forward.
Yeah, definitely. For one, I'm the reason I even wanted to get into the agency space was because I'm definitely an advocate for the players. I'm on their side 100%. I see that the work that they're putting in, what it really takes, and I really want to be able to make an impact on them and kind of, help them in any way possible. So I think this NIL thing was, a long time coming. They deserve every bit that they're getting from it, now being able to benefit in their own way from, their own NIL and just kind of making cool things happen. I think we've seen so many cool and innovative deals and partnerships come together from this that, now it's kind of free reign. And I think it's going to grow for sure. You're seeing legislation change all the time to kind of, fit what's going to work best within this space. You're seeing so many different management groups and agencies and brands and companies, want to come together and build their own type of department for NIL specifically, just so they can work with these athletes. So this, I think it's here to stay for sure. I think that the things that you'll see the differences are in the future are going to be, what's kind of the state of NCAA going to be like maybe in the next 2 years, the next 5 years, 10 years, who knows kind of what that'll look like. Maybe we'll see too. And this is actually, I don't know if you took strategic planning in our course last year, where you kind of plan for some of the future trends and things that are going on in the industry. One of the questions that we ask in our icebreaker class is, if students unionize and become free market labor, available, what's kind of the impact on that? So I think, obviously the legislation's kind of up in the air right now. There's a lot of gray areas that still need to be worked out. Obviously we've just seen the first infractions with Miami. So, I think that's kind of just going to trickle out to, let's see what kind of those things are going to be, what are going to be the infractions, how far are schools going to go, how far is the NCAA going to go? But if students do that, if they do unionize, and that's kind of what we're going to be faced with, then I think, it's going to be a question of, okay, do they want to have a union for all sports, or they do want to have a union that represents individually? Is it going to be one for all and all for one, or is it going to be up to each sport to kind of do their own thing? And I think there's going to be good and bad with each one of those. Obviously it comes into play Title IX and, the whole, argument of, equality with different sports, the ones that generate revenue and the ones that don't. Obviously football and basketball are probably going to be the two biggest ones that will always be the powerhouses for every school, every sport. Those are probably going to be the ones that are always going to be here to stay. So, that comes down to, okay, now does each sport or, collective have to build a CBA, for their school? And, with the NCAA, what does that kind of look like? So I think there's just so much up in the air right now that, more of those specific things in terms of legislation needs to be kind of figured out. Always keeping the athlete protected in mind, making sure that whatever it is that they're safe, they know what they're doing. Education's huge. We've seen a lot of bad deals go down, unfortunately, but being able to educate them, I think that's the next step as well, is, being able to provide elite level education to these student athletes to understand what they're signing, what they're getting into, and what they're kind of building long-term, before whether or not they make it to professional, level, it needs to be seen, but what they can do right now while they're playing. I think it's obviously really good for them. I think they should capitalize on it as much as possible. I think we're just going to see some changes here in the future in terms of how far they can go with their own following. So which is cool. I know have you been in the space a little bit? Have you been doing some NIL work too?
I dabble in the space. Yeah. I almost am kind of leaning towards the NCAA is just going to get just demolished. Like there's not even going to, in like 4 or 5 years. I mean, the way that college football, college basketball, like those high, revenue generating sports, like they're all their collectives are bringing in, I think I read a report, it was like 3 to 4 or 5 million a year.
Oh yeah. It's insane.
And then it's like I think it was Open Doors. They had a cap market projection of like $1.4 billion in the space. Wow. So like it's not going anywhere, and it's only going to get bigger. And so the NCAA is like, we're not going to be able to put everything back. Like the Pandora's box is open, so they're kind of toast. And I know the new commissioner or president of the NCAA, whatever his title is, he's kind of trying to figure it out, and he wants to get different legislation. But I just think at the end of the day, the collectives and kind of the schools, they're just going to take off. The NCAA is too far behind.
I don't know if you saw this. I'm pretty sure this is what it is at right now, but Florida is kind of, and I think California a little bit too. They're kind of trying to get ahead of what the future could look like right now by, I'm pretty sure they're allowing coaches to sort of manufacture these deals for student athletes. Pretty sure it's probably after they commit to the school. I'm not sure if they're doing it.
Yeah, I think so.
Obviously inducement's a big, issue and challenge that they're facing right now, as we've kind of seen, what are the implications of that and what are the infractions going to look like? How deep do they go? And, what's going to be the enforcement? Because there's really no precedent for this, obviously. Even if you do have like 100 schools that violate, they're not all the same. They're going to have different, punishments and implications based on their specific situation. So, whether it's going to be creating a universal, punishment or, breaking it down to state by state, I really just think that there's so much up in the air by that. I definitely agree that, we maybe won't see the NCAA in the future. That'll be another organizing body, but, along the way, I think you still have to have some sort of governmental body governing
Yeah,
everything.
there's got to be guidelines.
Yeah.
There's got to be
Whether they
something.
break that up or they stay the same or they change a little bit, I think it's gonna definitely be, reshaped somehow, some way. Not really sure. I'm no NIL expert, that's for damn sure. But at the same time, I think you kind of see and make logical conclusions as to where this could go in the future, and just at least what's best for the industry. You don't want schools being saying that they're tampering with anybody or that they're inducing, any sort of recruiting violations or anything like that. So you want to stay away from a lot of those things as much as possible. And, like I said, I'm on the side of the athletes. So any way that we can protect them and guide them through this and, help them maximize as much as they need in their lives, I'm all here for. So I think that's just kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with him. Then you see cool things like I believe it was, I want to say a team in the Mountain West, Boise State maybe. Their collective did a deal with like some tax company, and kind of like they went through the different tax laws and 1099 and how that all works. So I think deals like that, especially specifically for the the players and athletes, where it's like, all right, we can learn what it means to be an employee, what it means to be an independent contractor, because a lot of times it's like, all right, here, post this on Instagram. Then the company is like, here's a 1099, and I feel like a lot of people don't even know what that is. So it's like, what do I do with this? How do I pay taxes on this? How does that all work? So,
and especially like right now, we're talking about high school and college athletes potentially making, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars right now where they're at. So financial literacy is huge. If you make the wrong moves at this age, you can lose everything you just worked so hard to gain and were just granted.
Right.
So, being able to kind of, maximize that. I think something that's really cool now that we're seeing is a lot of these athletes are reshaping how NIL deals look and are kind of getting some stake in a lot of these companies and kind of investing money rather than being paid it and just saying like, do your social media and here's the money. So they're actually being able to sustain some long-term growth and long-term wealth in these companies, which I think is great. I think that's really cool. I'm definitely an advocate for investing as much as you can. That's definitely going to help you long term. And people get into this space because they want to be able to sustain their wealth and sustain the position that they're in, even after they're done playing. So to be able to do that at such a young age and kind of in this new unprecedented space, I think is huge. So that's only a benefit, I think. Rather than just saying, here's $1,500, give us a couple posts. Now it's like, hey, here's a $50,000 investment into our company, and this is how you'll kind of see it build over time. And being able to break that down, the best ways you can do it are break down the business, really show them and have them learn it so that they can understand it and they can kind of take hold of that rather than just being like, yeah, I'll handle it all for you. This looks good. I'll keep you updated. Really get them hands-on with it and kind of learning it themselves.
Yep. No, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just the experience for, those of us working in the industry, but then also the athletes. Like it gives them experience in business, gives them experience in marketing, gives them experience in, public relations, that type of stuff. So I think that's what is kind of one of the most important, aspects of NIL itself. As we go forward in this NIL world that, isn't, in my opinion, going anywhere ever. It's kind of, I feel like the new standard and whatnot. And, it is kind of cool for all, the people that are just starting to get into sports. It's like there's so many more jobs, marketing, all those positions are opening. And as you said, even like big time agencies are like, okay, we need an NIL division, or like consulting groups, like we need an NIL division. So that just, expands all sorts of people's careers and jobs, going forward.
Yeah. And I'm hearing it now that there's a new sort of, I wouldn't say a new position, but just a new sort of role that a lot of agents are taking on now, which is called like, NIL advisor, like NIL educator, where, they're the agent, but at the same time, they're really taking the time to, maybe it's an individual athlete, maybe it's groups of athletes, really taking the time to educate them on this space and using it rather than, just forming their business and working with their business. They're taking the time to really provide an actual educational component to their offering, to what they do as an agent,
right?
To these young people, which I think is super important, being able to, or even too, if it's not even athletes, maybe they're advising high schools, or maybe they're advising colleges or collectives or groups that are trying to get into the space and they want to know as much as they can about it. Agents are some of the best people to do that for, and lawyers, because they understand it down to a science. So for them, being able to offer that's another big part of it too, that people are being able to kind of work in the future is, okay, specifically NIL, what do we have? We have advising, we have education, marketing and sales. I mean, just so many different aspects that are just within that one space that, there's going to be tons of jobs created, as you said, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. And that's kind of exciting. And to think about is, we're kind of entered this spot and being in the sports industry itself, is there's so many different random jobs and different cool jobs that you can be a part of. So that's something to look forward to, and keep your eye out as you enter the sports industry itself. And we appreciate you jumping on today here, Griffin. We've had a great discussion, and the viewers and listeners, I'm sure, are going to eat this up. And we're just going to close here with a little no huddle. So I'll ask you a few questions, and then after that, I'll just kind of give you the floor. I know the ASU program's got some different events and whatnot coming up that you can plug and do your thing. So we'll just kind of light it up here. So what's your favorite sports related book?
Oh man. I'd probably say it's Next Question by Drew Rosenhaus. If you're not familiar with him, he's a star-studded NFL agent who's just really kind of paved the way for the industry, and really great book.
All right. Note that. It's one I got to put on my shelf there. And then who's your favorite LinkedIn connection, if you could pick one?
Oh man. I don't know if I could chalk it up to one specific, but I have been able to connect with some people that kind of do what I want to do, which to me, that's really cool. People that work in marketing, or, might be VPs or agents. I mean, just being able to kind of get that connection with them, that's super cool to me. I really don't have like a famous person that I'm connected with, but just being able to connect with people that, are doing what I want to do probably is the cool part.
I'm with you. That's kind of the answer I usually give. It's just like, if it's an agent for athletes first,
Classic answer.
That guy's pretty cool. He has a cool career. And, that's a way you can kind of back into your career. It's like you find someone that does it at the highest level, essentially copy what they did and how they got there.
Exactly how I'm doing what I'm doing, man.
It's a beautiful thing. And then what's a sports sector you're keeping your eye on going forward? I've said in the past, it's, for me, I'll be interested to see where the UFC goes. I feel like they've been just on an absolute skyrocket. And it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of keep it up with, how they're going. So that's kind of what I think, going forward.
Yeah, I'd say, obviously probably outside of pickleball nowadays that we're seeing that.
Yeah, pickleball is just exploding.
The sector in sports, I'm kind of looking at the tech space right now. I think that's something that, especially now with NIL, there's so many different brands coming out with, wearables and data and like things like that even athletes are able to invest in and see some really great returns from, but just really kind of building that space. I think that's something that I'm probably going to try to incorporate too into my business in the future. Is definitely the tech space. Yeah,
no, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where the tech space goes. Like you're saying, so because nowadays data is king. Everyone wants the data.
It's taking over.
Everyone wants how it works. They want to know, where the players are at, how healthy they are, all that stuff. So, now we'll kind of give you the floor. The floor is yours. Get on your soapbox and kind of do what you need to do, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
No, yeah, definitely appreciate your time, man. It's awesome to kind of see what you're doing here with Constant Sports. I mean, you guys have had some great guests, and I've seen a lot of growth from you guys. It's only been a couple of months, so definitely appreciate you having me out here and kind of share my journey and my background. Definitely here to help anybody that's kind of interested. If anyone's listening that's kind of looking to get into the industry, maybe it's specifically agency, maybe it's just trying to find that first job, or if you're interested in the program that I'm in as well and that Connor graduated from, reach out to me. I'm your man for sure, to talk everything about the program. Super unique, super cool. Got me to where I am today, thankfully. And, it's definitely been one hell of a journey with all the things I've learned, the people I've been able to connect with. So if you're ever interested, definitely let me know. I think my information will be posted on here somewhere.
You bet it will.
Out to me. We'll also be having our marquee event here in the spring called the CELIC Speaker Series. It'll be the first ever women's panel that we have for this series, which is pretty cool. We have some really great people from the industry coming in to speak with us about some current trends in the industry and kind of what they see right now. So it'll be on April 20th at the law school in downtown Phoenix. If you're in the area, if you want to make the trip out, definitely let us know and come out. Other than that, we look forward to seeing you there. But definitely thank you for having me out here, Connor. Appreciate you. You're doing some really cool stuff, and definitely interested to see where this podcast goes.
Hey, you know what they say. It's all about who you know. And now, you know Griffin Limongelli.